So I mentioned this guy quite a few times, and I've been making videos of other planes, but he's never appeared in a video himself, I don't think. This is the ParkZone Sport Cub S2. And he's a plane I've always liked. I like Cubs, and this is a very good solid Cub implementation. So we're going to try and do a little two-camera flight with a drone view on his tail there. So we'll start the drone view in a minute. He has what they call optional flaps, meaning they're sort of marked out and they have control arms, or at least a place for control arms on them, but they don't give you the servos with him. So you have to kind of cut them out a bit, and I didn't do the best of jobs there. You can see they're a little uneven, but anyway, I decided to put them in. He doesn't really need them. I mean, he really doesn't need them. I mean, if you're buying him, sure, you can put the flaps on, but I mean, they're absolutely unnecessary. Let's put it like that. I mean, no harm having them, but he'll take off and land fine without them, so they're not necessary. It's getting warm now. The sun's come up a bit more. The mist as well. It's not utterly cleared away, and when you look into the distance, you can still see some mist, but there's no. You can't see any mist immediately around. Still no wind at the moment. All good. This guy will handle a certain amount of wind anyway. Let's start the drone view. We'll start the drone view here if we can. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the drone view is recording. We'll take that off the damp table. The table is pretty damp still. And we'll take him out and
throttle cut off. Throttle cut on.
You want throttle cut on this one. You could hurt yourself on that, so that propeller for sure. We'll put a little bit of flap on to take off, but you don't need to, as I say. But I think since they're there, we will put a little bit of flap on. I've got the flaps on the wheel here on the back of the transmitter. That's where I like to put my flaps, because then I've got full proportional control of them. I can put a little bit more. I'm not limited to just 3 positions as I would be with a switch. Love his undercarriage. These, like Tundra type wheels. He works very well on grass because of that. That's his default undercarriage, the way he comes.
Take off flaps.
Okay, so that's actually about, okay, that's full flaps, right, which we're certainly not going to use, probably not for anything, even landing.
Flaps up. Take off flaps.
Now, well, that really is, that's half flaps, so that's about a quarter flaps or so, a little bit more than that. Okay. Yeah, I've actually put that same undercarriage, those same wheels and things, on several other planes because I like it so much. It's an excellent undercarriage for running off grass. I bought 2 other sets of it, I think, and put them on other planes. I think those are the wheels I've got on the big Tiger Moth, for example.
Throttle cut.
Okay. See, he lifts off really quickly. He lifts off pretty quickly even without the flaps.
Flaps up.
Take the flaps up. Got a little bit of down elevator mix with the flaps, I think, because he will, when you put the flaps on in flight, he will balloon. Nice slow flyer if you want him to be. Can go a bit faster for sure. Any plane can give me some trouble in seeing it if it gets far enough away, but I find this kind of configuration probably as easy to see in the air as anything. I find it easier to see the orientation of the plane with something like this than with certainly than with a delta wing, or even than with a low wing plane generally, because color makes a difference as well, a bit. Although of course by the time you get him far away and he's just silhouetted, color doesn't make a difference anymore really, because
time remaining 6 minutes.
Compared, the last thing I flew was the Hobby King Skipper, which is like a delta wing that wants to fly fairly fast. So this guy just seems to be absolutely crawling compared to him. I mean, I can fly him a bit faster, but it's the slow flying of this is just more striking because I'm flying him after something that really didn't want to fly slow. You've got to keep that skipper moving, else it will stall. It flies absolutely fine, the Skipper, but you can't. You cannot fly the Skipper anywhere near as slowly as this. I'm kind of slightly amazed by how slowly this guy does fly, and that's without any flaps. That's without any flaps. If you put flaps on, you can fly him even slower than that. There is a hair of wind getting up now, seems to be coming from to my right and to behind me, but it's only a hair. So what little wind there is, he's kind of going into now, but it's not much.
Time remaining 5 minutes.
I think this guy, I think I've got an orange receiver in this guy. I bought him as a what they call plug and play. He's a ParkZone. I think you can buy him with a Spectrum receiver already in. And I've got nothing against Spectrum receivers. It just happened my local hobby store had him in stock as a plug and play, and I've got nothing against plug and play. So, meaning, he's basically ready to go except for the receiver. Well, and as I say, the flap servos weren't included; they were optional. The control rods for the flaps were included. And the control horns, but no servos. Flaps had to buy a couple of extra servos. Was it 2 or 1? I forget. I think just 1. I think it's just one servo driving the flaps from them in the middle. It's kind of a bit of an odd arrangement. Well, not odd, but it's one servo in the middle. It's not really the world's best arrangement, but it's like they're not control surfaces that you're constantly flexing. Commercial plane going over there high. Yeah. So. Yeah, but all the regular servos and the motor and everything are in him in the plug-and-play version, just not the nice, really neat Immelman turn there. Again, I mean, this guy is very controllable, and he's even, he flies a little bit similarly to the little UMX J3 Cub, except this guy, if anything, flies even slower than that microplane. And of course, that doesn't have flaps. I mean, you don't need flaps on these Cubs. I like this plane. I like planes like this a lot. They do, he's got the power to do what you want, more what I want anyway.
3 minutes.
But he's he can fly really slowly when you want him to. Comes with a great landing gear for grass. He's I just like these planes. I like the Cub design generally. I've got quite a number of Cubs. This is the Sport Cub design, which is the same as like the little Sport Cub S. I guess they're the only two I've got that are like the Sport Cub, and then I've got 2 or 3 J3 Cubs, the sub-micro one, the micro one, and a grasshopper, quite a fairly big grasshopper, which is just like the military version of the J3 Cub. And I have the Multiplex Fun Club, although that's not really, they call it a Cub, but it's not really based precisely on a Piper Cub or whatever. Nice plane, another nice plane.
Time remaining 2 minutes.
But if I had to let one of them go, I think I'd keep this, and that cost me like about twice as much as this. The Multiplex Fun Cub. Well, because I bought it as an ARF, but then, by the time I bought ESC and motor and everything for it, and servos, well, the servos weren't so bad, but the ESC and the motor were fairly expensive. Well, not for this guy. This guy came with the CNC, but I'm talking about the Multiplex Fun Club. I put the motor, the high-tech motor and ESC and whatever that they told you to put in, they recommended. And that's a bit of an expensive business. Maybe I should have just bought a knockoff. But it's a question of also fitting it into the ARF kit as well as the power and whatever. I didn't want to be trying to shoehorn something that didn't really fit in. And I didn't have a motor that had high enough power anyway. What we at time-wise? Ooh, we should be thinking of landing him. We've only got like a minute of power left or so. Okay, so we should be thinking of landing him.
Time remaining 1 minute.
Yeah.
Take off flaps.
Don't need flaps, but we'll put a little bit on nonetheless. Cheated a little bit there, but anyway.
Flaps up. Throttle cut on.
There we go. Another plane I really like. Oh, see, these things are what they call vortex creators, vortex generators. I guess the term they use generally. They create extra turbulence on top of the wing, which creates extra lift because the lift, the lift is caused by the differential pressure on the top and bottom of the wing, basically. So having those vortex generators gives him extra lift. That's part of the reason why he can fly so slowly. A really, really nice plane, I think. I believe they still sell this one. Really, really nice plane. Okay, and we'll stop the drone view recording. ParkZone, the ParkZone Sport Cub S2. If I were only keeping 2 or 3 planes, he would likely be one of them. Well, if it got down to 2 or 3, I'd have to seriously think. But he's certainly a plane I have absolutely no intention of thinking about letting go. I think he's got a kind of slow fly-ish sort of propeller. That's the propeller that came with him. I say I've changed almost nothing on him. I put the optional flaps in, and I put, as I say, it's an orange receiver with some kind of mild AS3X type anti-wind stabilisation, but it's very mild. And you can switch it off, completely off if you want. You can switch it to no stabilisation, but I actually had it turned on. Well, it probably wouldn't have made any difference now because there is no wind, basically. But that's all it is. It's just some very mild anti-wind stabilisation. I've had him for a while. I was buying orange receivers to put in things when I got him. I've kind of switched to lemon for quite a while since, but not that there's anything wrong with the orange ones, but I think the lemons get slightly better reviews for, control distance and some other issues. So I'm very happy with the lemons, but I'm comfortable enough flying him with the orange receiver that's in him. He's got lots of flights on him. Not the world's most exciting flight, but I do really like this plane and I strongly recommend it. So we might as well have a battery power report here just to keep track of how we're doing. He had 7 minutes on the timer. I landed him in the last minute, so it was a little over 6 minutes the flight. I was flying him with one of these Genesis 000s that I bought at the end of last year. Didn't really fly them till this year because I bought them at the end of last year when it was getting too cold to fly already. Oh heck, and look at that. Look at that. Well, because it was a very gentle flight, but it's still over 12 volts. Still over 4 volts a cell. So he could have he probably could go, I don't know why I've got this timer set as low as 7 minutes then, because he could comfortably go 10 minutes. He'd probably go 12 minutes. He should be able to go about twice that, probably. So he'd probably go 12 minutes. So his timer is distinctly on the conservative side. Some of them are a bit, the skipper's about as much as you'd want it to be. It's a little on the high side, if anything. But this guy's timer is distinctly on the conservative side. I've got him set at 7 minutes, and I reckon with this battery he could have gone 12 without a problem.